recording. This is page 6. And say I wanted to round to the thousands position. Then I say, if you have trouble with this, you can put a box around it and say, I want to round to the thousands position. So I put a box around that. Then I look to the right. Look to the right. If that number to the right, if the number to the right is a 0 to a 4, then the boxed number stays the same. Yes? Is this just like math? Yeah. And what if that number to the right is a 5 to 9? We round up. Okay? So, what are we going to do if we have an 8 there? We're going to round up. So the 8 then becomes a 9. What if I want to round to the thousands position and I have a 1 here? What if I have a 0 here? It's going to round down to the 1. I'm going to bring this one up. This is where people can go wrong. Sometimes people look at one like this and they say, oh, I've got 12, 4, 5, 0. Well, that would round to 12, 5, 0, 0, which would round to 13,000. That's called double rounding, and you don't ever want to do it. Okay, double rounding, do not do it. So you always want to look at only the digit to the right. Don't look past that one digit to the right. Okay, so that's the first type of mistake that people make. If you're going to make a mistake, do not double round. Just look directly to that one digit and you can ignore all the rest. So if I have this 3 here, I look and I say, oh, that's an 8. That's greater than 5. So it's going to round up. So the 3 becomes a 4. If I have a 0 here, and this is also where you need to think about it, if I'm rounding to this digit, and let's say I wanted to round to 3 Sig Figs. Say my instructions here were to round to 3 Sig Figs. I look to the right, and I say that's a 4. So I'm going to round down. I'm going to round to the 0. But if I don't put an overbar here, then I would have only how many Sig Figs? I would have only 1 Sig Fig. So if you're asked to round to 3 Sig Figs and this number is going to be a 0, then you would want to put the overbar to indicate that that 0 is your last uncertain digit. All right. Round 749 to the 100s position. This is where people tend to double round because they'll look at it and they'll be like, oh, 49, that's almost 50. So would you want to round to 700 or would you want to round to 800 if you have 749 and we're rounding to the hundreds position? 700, because the only digit we look at is the 4. We ignore the 9. Okay? Yes. Yes, of course. Okay, so this business where you have 749 and it rounds to 750 and then it rounds to 800, that is wrong. Wow, those are weird lines, but that's okay. All right, that was just supposed to be an X. See if I can make an X. There we go. All right. So if it helps you to think of a number line, that wasn't supposed to get that small. If you look at it, 749 is closer to 700, and it is further from 800. Does that make sense? That's why we don't double round. Also, do not just cut the number off. That would be truncating. And this is when we say, let's say I had said round to 3 Sig Figs. All right, so I'm looking at this and I want to round to 3 Sig Figs. I look here, and sometimes people will say, oh, I want 3 Sig Figs, 1, 2, 3. So that's then going to become 334. Is it okay to take this number here and round it to 334? This should be a 4. Sorry. How would you say this number out loud? Say it out loud to your friend, to your neighbors. This would be 333 what? 1,000. 878. Okay. Now, if I was to round it to 334, what is this number? This number is 334. Is that anywhere close to 333,000? No. So make sure you don't just truncate a number. You need to keep those extra zeros at the end. This should also be a 4. Sorry. So this is a totally different number. And you might be looking at me like, Miss Benz, you're crazy. No one would ever do that. I would say at least 10% of students do that on a regular basis, at least, minimum. Okay, every year I get the little quizzes in, and I'm like, no, you can't do that. Now, it's gotten better since I've started writing that down explicitly and saying, don't do that. You got to make sure that you keep these zeros here so that it is 334,000. Okay, does that make sense? Okay. So, and when you're rounding, Are things actually equal when you round? Like, is 749 actually equal to 700? Is that true or false? That is false. So instead of writing an equal sign, you should write an arrow. Okay, so this is correct. This is wrong because they are not equal. So show rounding by showing an arrow rather than an equal sign. If I'm feeling generous, I might only take off a quarter of a mark for it, but generally that would be minus 0.5, okay, minus a half a mark. Okay, for that. Rounding to a certain number of Sig Figs. Let us round 49,627 to 2 Sig Figs. So our 2 Sig Figs would be here. First of all, should I round it to 50 or 50 or 50,000 or 50,000 or 50,000? Which of those is good? If I'm rounding to 2 Sig Figs. The last one, okay? Because this is the same places, like it's some 10,000s, yes? It's not going to be 50, because 50,000 can't become 50. That's just ridiculous. This would only have 1 Sig Fig. This would have 5 Sig Figs. And then this one would have 2 Sig Figs. The other way to do it, if you don't want to use the overbar, is to put it into scientific notation. Okay, so you could write it as 5.0 times 10 to the 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? Round the number 83047. Let's round this to 3 Sig Figs. I know the answer is there for you, but could you, just looking up here, tell me what I should write? Do I keep the 8? Yes. Do I keep the 3? Yes. Do I keep the 0? Yes. Do I keep the 4? No. Do I keep the 7? No. Now I want it to be 3 Sig Figs. How can I make this number 3 Sig Figs? I can put the overbar, or how else could I write it? 8.30 times 10 to the 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? And then there's some exercises here that I will let you complete after your test tomorrow. Okay? I mean, if you want to do them tonight because you're like, I'm all ready for the test. Don't forget, for the test, you need to know mega, kilo, deci, centi, milli, micro, nano, 6312369 9 is for the nano. This one here is, of course, the little enriched marks. Yes, 10 to the, and these are negative, 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 and these are all 10 to the whatever. And you also should be able to fill in, do you remember that table we did at the beginning? There won't be anything in the table. So you need to know, you should be able to go liters, meters, moles, and Kelvin, kilograms and seconds. And then you go, okay, liters, I know that's liters. And then meters. And then moles and Kelvin, kilograms and seconds. And then you should be able to say, liters measure volume. Meters measure distance. All I can say to you is review your quizzes because like really the test almost looks like a bunch of quizzes stuck together with a few little extra things.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's like, you know, quiz A, quiz B, quiz C, quiz D, and then there's some lab stuff, right? Yeah.
Miss Bess, how long is the test? Like
It's like
pages?
legal size,
Okay.
front, back, front, back.
Oh, from back.
Yes,
Like,
but there's pictures, right? Because we've got measuring stuff, right? So I need to draw that. And then we've got pictures of, what am I trying to say? Like particles and stuff
Okay.
like that, right? So that takes up space also. Yes, stapler's over there. Perfect. Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Accuracy, precision. I think everything's on that. It's on Teams. Yes? You guys know where to look on Teams? Over in upcoming quizzes and tests? La-di-la-di-la. I'll put the enriched material in a reply below. Thank you. Let's get a signature here. Block 2. Here we go. And that is the 28th. Just remind me closer to the date. I will never remember.